Welcome to the Coffee House, where we discuss board games, miniatures, and painting them, not necessarily in that order. If any of those things appeal to you and you haven't already, please consider hitting that subscription down below, turning on notifications, and giving this video a like. Seriously helps me out. It helps the channel grow, especially with YouTube's new algorithm. It is really hard to reach anybody at this stage in this section of YouTube. Now, with that out of the way, let's jump on in. All right, painters, here we are. We are at the final sprint of Season 1 of Death May Die. So I saved the investigators for last for a couple of reasons. The first being that I just find the investigators the least interesting things to paint in the box. Other than that, I plan on just dropping these videos in rapid succession. That way you can just breeze on through them. They're really easy to paint. There's nothing fancy here. A couple things I want to touch on, though. First being, you're not going to be doing anything that you haven't seen. All right, we're going to be doing a little bit of OSL, and we're going to be doing a little bit of freehanding. Both of these steps on these models are totally optional. You don't have to do them. The minis are still going to look great whether you do them or not. I just think it elevates the minis to the next level and just makes them pop just that much more on the table. You don't have to do it, though. Totally cool. The other thing that I want to touch on is eyes. So in the majority or all of the monster painting videos, I have done the eyes, and they're easy to do and they look good. For whatever reason, monster eyes are always sculpted to be easier to paint versus human eyes on CMON's models in particular. So having said that, I don't paint the eyes on these models. You don't need to paint the eyes on these models. Well-painted eyes, you have to look for to see. Bad painted eyes will ruin an entire model. The risk-reward factor is not worth it for a board game under most circumstances, in my opinion. So unless you are super, super confident with your brush control, leave out the eyes. Nobody's going to notice, nobody's going to care, and it's really not worth making your model look cross-eyed and ridiculous, because 100% that will stick out versus a well-painted set of eyes. Now that I've gotten all that out of the way, let's go ahead and crank through these models, and I'll see you on the other side. All right, guys, here we are kicking off the video with a fully gray primed Ahmed. So we're going to create a 1-to-1 blend of warrior skin and peachy flesh for his skin tone. And then we're going to apply that to his hands and his face and all of his visible fleshy bits. Like I said, 1-to-1 warrior skin, peachy flesh. Don't worry about getting any on his beard right now. No big deal. You can go ahead and just cover that whole face. No need to be careful. Make sure you get his neck too, and his ears. The ears are important. Now from here, we're going to blend Sand Golem with Howling Sand. It's about a 2-to-1, 2 Howling Sand for 1 Sand Golem to create this sort of beige color that I am going for here. This is the majority of this model's color, so go ahead and apply it liberally on his pants and his jacket. When I started painting this model, I thought he was wearing a belt, but it turns out that he is not, so go ahead and fill in that belt area that I ignore. I do fill it in later, but while you're painting the pants, you might as well just hit it while you're there. And don't forget the underside of the coat. and then throw your model on your table. So from here, we're going to move on to blood red, and we're going to apply this to his tie and his fez. I think that's what it's called, right? Fez? Carefully to the tie. You don't want a whole lot of paint on your brush when you're doing this, that way it doesn't fall off and pool onto the shirt. But if it does, no biggie, you can always fix it with a little bit of acrylic paint and you're good to go. Here's where I catch that mistake with the pants. I'm not perfect. So now we're going to move on to hardened leather, and we're going to apply this to his suitcase. The paint, because it's such a flat surface, is absolutely going to pool at the bottom. So go ahead and just cover the suitcase with paint, and then as it begins to dry, with a clean, dry brush, you're just going to wick away the excess, and you'll see me do that here. Contrast and speed paints are not fantastic for flat surfaces. Shoes the same color. We're going to go ahead and hit it with the hardened leather. That's me wicking away that excess paint on that briefcase. I know it's out of focus, I apologize. But that's what I'm doing. There we go. Now you can see the color. Alright, so from here we're going to move on to matte black, and we're going to begin with his beard and his hair. Don't need a whole lot of paint here. Just carefully as possible trace the outline of that beard with that acrylic black. Now we're using acrylic here rather than speed paints or contrast paints because you can just have more control with acrylic. Trace the beard. We're going to do a little bit of eyebrows too. You're barely going to run your brush across those eyebrows. Just enough to peel a little bit of paint off of your brush. And we're not going to do the eyebrows on every model in this series, but certain ones you have to. It looks weird without them. This is one of those models. So we're going to go ahead and paint this hair with that acrylic black. Now you're going to want to leave a little bit creeping out around his temple untouched by that black, because we're going to go in with some matte white and we are just going to dab. And then I dabbed a little bit too much, so I wicked away with my thumb, but we're just going to pepper this beard with that white to create the effect of salt and pepper hair. You're basically just stippling here. Around the mustache, beard. There we go. Dab, 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 dab. That's what you want to be doing. Along the back here too. More closer towards the fez, the hat, than towards the bottom. You kind of want to leave the bottom black. Hit those sides with that white. Beautiful. He's looking like a middle-aged man. Exactly what we want. And from here, we're going to take some enchanted steel and we're going to apply this to his little revolver right there. And then this next step after this is totally optional. don't even really know if it's really that noticeable, but I went ahead and took some weapon bronze here, and I painted the clasps on the bottom of the briefcase, and I kind of sketched out the corners of the briefcase as well with that weapon bronze, just to create a little bit more variance, a little bit more detail on the model. You don't have to do it. I'm still not even entirely convinced it's worth it, but you know, we're professionals over here, right? So this is what we do. And boom, there he is, Mr. Ahmed. Now, of course, you're going to black out his base. Moving on from there, we're going to tackle the kid, fully primed in gray, 100% coverage. And we're going to do our traditional flesh of 1-to-1 or 2-to-1 peachy flesh to Crusader skin. You know, however tan or light you want your model to be is up to you. I typically hover around 1-to-1 or 2-to-1. So you're going to get her face, you're going to get her hands, and you're going to get her arms and legs. Don't forget the legs. Now her shoes have this little opening along the top of her feet as well. You're going to go ahead and dab that with some of that skin color as well. Now from here we're going to take Poppy Red and we're going to apply this to her dress, pretty much all of her dress except for the little belt going across her midsection, her collar, and the cuffs of her sleeves. I paint the dress, I kind of try to do just, you know, one curved section at a time. This just keeps the paint as smooth as possible. Make sure you get the underside as well. There's a lot of available space down there. So we're going to switch to Slaughter Red, and we're just going to get this belt that is going across her midsection here. Just a little variation in color here, nothing crazy. And we're going to get those sleeve collars, cuffs. We're going to get those cuffs as well. I'm good with words. I know things. We're going to hit her shoes as well. Careful to not get paint on that little fleshy opening on the top of her feet. And of course, top her all off with a bow. From here we're going to move on to Cloudburst Blue. And we're going to go ahead and hit that. I'm considering it a spell book. Hitting that spell book with that Cloudburst Blue. Make sure you get the spine. Nice. Here we're going to move on to matte white. Now this is the fire. I chose to go a more magical route with this fire. So we're going to do kind of a blue magic flame here. So we're first going to completely cover that in white. Now while we have that white out, we're going to do some other work. So we're going to hit her buttons, since we've already got the white out. Now this next step is totally optional. You don't have to do this, but in her art, her dress is polka dotted. So I chose to go ahead and test my patience and cover her dress in the polka dots, just kind of dabbing the paint on there from the tip of my brush. You do not have to do this. This is optional, but it's a relatively easy step. It's a little time consuming, but it's easy to do. And as you can see here, you can kind of even get like a little pattern going and just bounce off of that and cover her whole dress. Now her hair, we're going to do a 1-to-1 blend of Ancient Honey and Sand Golem. And we're going to go ahead and apply that to her hair. I find this is a much more natural blonde look than if you just go straight yellow. From here, we're going to dry brush Bright Sapphire. Now that that white has had time to dry, we're going to dry brush this across that flame. You're going to want to do this a few times. You're going to hit it with a coat, kind of let it dry a little bit, hit it with another coat, let it dry a little bit, because it is a very light blue color, but you do want to make sure that you're hitting it enough so that it's visible. Don't be afraid to be aggressive with this. Now we're going to switch to a darker blue. The shade doesn't really matter as long as it's darker than the Bright Sapphire. So you can kind of pick your poison on this one. But we're just going to hit the tips, the hottest, or actually the coolest point of the flame here is going to be darker. And then you can see me hitting that lighter blue again, just to kind of blend it a little bit more evenly, and again to make it more visible. Just play around with the dry brushing with the fire until you're satisfied. There's no real wrong way to do it. Next, we're going to move on to a little bit of OSL. So I'm taking that Bright Sapphire and I am watering it down to about this consistency, and I'm just slowly applying it to this dress here. Again, this step, totally optional. You don't have to do it. Your model's going to look great without doing it. I'm not even entirely convinced. I'm super satisfied with my results on this model. Something about the bluish glow just doesn't sit right with me. I don't know if it's just my brain or what, but you're going to go ahead and just do your best. Lightly, glaze after glaze, apply light where you want it to be kind of bouncing off to create a glow effect. Don't forget, you're gonna go up her arms, you're gonna go behind her, just anywhere you think light is going to hit. Now again, this is personal preference. You don't have to do this. And you can play around with it however you want. Whatever looks good to your eye. And you want to be heavier, closer to the base of the flame than when you're fanning out. You want the color to be lighter as you're further away from that flame. And then hopefully it'll look something like this when you're done. And then of course you're going to go ahead and black out your base, and if you followed along with these two models, your end results are going to end up looking something along these lines.
Alright guys, that is going to do it for this week's episode. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much if you're painting along. If you are painting along and you're having fun and you've learned some things, even if you've just learned to enjoy painting, consider checking out my Patreon, which has a link down below for about the price of a cup of coffee every single month. You can seriously help me out, keep the lights on, keep these videos cranking out, and I genuinely appreciate every single one of you. Shout out to all of my top tier patrons.
Dan, Steven, Tyler, JB. I love you guys so much. Without you, I wouldn't even be able to begin to do this, so thank you so much for all of your support. Genuinely appreciate it. Other than that, guys, again, if you could leave a like, if you could leave a comment, any engagement, any sharing, any little bit that you can do without spending $1 helps me tremendously, and I greatly appreciate it. Again, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for painting along. Tell me how your painting process is going. If you are painting, how far you've gotten. If you're happy with these results, if you're happy with my results, I'd love to know. Every little bit of feedback helps me out. Keep painting, guys, and we'll catch you on the next one. See ya.